Hi class, my name is Amber Buckham. I'm coming to you today from the state of Washington, and my presentation today will be on the article titled The Relation Between Instrumental Musical Activity and Cognitive Aging. This article was written by Brenda, Hanna-Pladdy, and Alicia MacKay at the University of Kansas Medical Center. Their study focused on musical activity and its relation to cognitive aging. The objective of this study was to identify modifiable lifestyle factors that may potentially enhance successful aging, specifically evaluating the association between musical instrument participation and cognitive aging. The method of their study was to perform a neurological evaluation of older adults between the ages of 60 and 83. There were 70 participants in this study. These participants were of sound mind and health. They had no signs or symptoms of psychiatric or neurological disease or current alcohol abuse or depression. The participants were split into three different groups. Those three groups were the non-musical, or those with no musical experience, or the low musical activity, so those who had fewer than 10 years of instrumental musical experience, and the high musical activity, so those with more than 10 years experience. So this study evaluated these participants' neurological profiles in the categories of verbal intellectual ability, memory, attention, working memory, and language. They found that there were vast differences between the non-musical participants and the high activity participants. But there wasn't such a vast difference between the low activity and the high activity participants. But the low activity participants did score slightly lower than the high activity participants did in their testing. So there still was a linear pattern in their findings. So some of the pros to this study were that they were able to find a strong correlation between those who were active musically with an instrument and their cognitive ability. Another pro to this study was that it is the first of its kind that quantified life experience with cognitive ability in older adults. There were other studies done before it, but none were able to actually quantify data, and they did this by counting the number of years each participant actually participated in music, and not necessarily how often or how much, but just the number of years that they were active. Some of the cons to this study were that they weren't really able to determine the relationship between music and cognition. They weren't able to determine that it was causal. So it's not clear from the data gathered whether people have higher cognition functioning are more likely to play music, or if the musical activity actually improved their cognition. So it's kind of a which came first, the chicken or the egg situation. The study did also not address other factors that may have had an effect on the cognition of each participant that may have coincided with the musical activities, such as social interaction. And also the study found that their data matched a similar study done in children in music. So the research doesn't necessarily give us a definitive answer as to whether or not the findings were age-related or not. Some of my questions would be, what would a similar study done on participants with dementia look like? So since this study was done on those with healthy minds, I would want to know what the similar study would look like if someone had Alzheimer's disease or another related dementia. What someone who had studied music for a long time who ended up getting dementia, what that would look like. Also, another question would be, can music restore cognitive function? So if they looked at people who already had a diagnosis of dementia and then started music, did that improve their cognition? Would it, improve their functioning day-to-day with their daily living activities, etc.? And then my other question would be, how does musical activity compare with other activities such as exercise, social connectedness, or lifelong learning? Where does it fall on the scale in relation to their improvement in cognition? So that is my presentation today. Thank you so much for listening.